Thanks so much, everyone, for watching. We've got an epic lineup tonight of speakers. We've got an awesome panel here. Amazing group of functional doctors, technology, activists for a leap forward in medicine.
This is a great gathering.
You know, our goal is to make it easy for practitioners to learn in community.
There's a lot of community happening tonight. I want to say welcome to all of the communities that are watching at home. This ecosystem that is being set up by the meetup groups, we believe will be the future ecosystem of this evolved primary care network that we are looking to develop, and it all revolves around you. Hello and welcome to the 52nd episode of the Functional Forum, the evolution of health insurance. If you've been following us for a long time, you know that for the last 4 years we've been building communities of practitioners interested in integrating functional medicine all around the world. And last month we announced our most ambitious project to date, the creation of a health cooperative. Now, in this episode, we are going to answer one fundamental question. How do communities of people take care of each other? We're going to look at the past, the present, and then we're going to look to the future. So, to start in the past, we're actually going to take a clip from a new docuseries called The Human Longevity Project. We actually filmed for it as part of our Journey to 100 last year in Guernsey. And so check out this clip as we speak to members of communities that have lived without chronic disease. And we're also going to hear from some experts who you might recognize who are speaking about how structures like community, incentives, and healthy behaviors contribute to longevity. Enjoy.
Look at countries that have a high happiness index, such as Costa Rica or Bhutan or other places. Well, let's go to Costa Rica, where their motto is Pura Vida, pure life. So they're really interested in living a big life, not necessarily a long life, but a big life. That kind of culture, I think, generates longevity. Oddly enough, when you're focused more on day-to-day joy and interactions with family, interactions with community, food, a lot of the things that we often take for granted, if we start looking at the things that make us happy, they are pretty simple things.
Here's the thing, we are social beings. We need each other. And when we have community, when we have friends, when we have people that hold space for us, we tend to perform better. We tend to enjoy life more.
When it comes to community, community is the hidden secret that we don't often talk about enough. There are books on dating and how to optimize your dating and romantic life and marriage. There's so many books on finances, and we know to pay attention to that. There's so many books on health, but we rarely ever talk about the importance of friendship, this secret ingredient, friendship and community and tribe. And that's actually the magic sauce that allows our goals to happen, for us to stay accountable to what we want to do health-wise, and for us to actually truly be content and happy on a day-to-day basis.
Sigue porque el patrón cultural se hereda y se mantiene esa misma convivencia familiar. Hablo a nivel de familia, que repercute también a nivel de la comunidad, porque la comunidad también tiene que verse como una familia.
Pues importante porque no está pensando en cosas nada, uno está muy bien, se siente bien, ¿verdad? Y si tiene algún problemita, pues está pensando mal uno, entonces no está tranquilo.
Saco eso a dos situaciones. Uno, la tranquilidad que hay en estos pueblos. La gente no está tan estresada, no tiene tanto problema de actividad forzada.
Ναι, περνάω την ώρα με τα σκύβους, με τα ζωάκια μου. Έχω ζωάκια, κάτι κουνελάκια, ένα γουρουνάκι, δύο προβατάκια και την περνάω.
Είχα σαν αρχή μου είχα να περνάω καλά με όλο τον κόσμο.
Certo che è importante, ma prima è più importante di adesso però.
For me, the future of longevity is about keeping that ancient wisdom going, but using the best bits of modern science to enhance it.
I think part of it involves expanding our definition of health and what it is, and shifting it from simply the absence of disease, which I think is if you were to find a definition in a medical textbook, that would probably be it, to something that's a lot more progressive and robust.
No one seems to bother with health, but that's because we don't have a very simple definition of health that we could actually stick to. So what is health? I define health very simply. Health equals A plus B plus C. A is the absence of disease, which is the purview of illness medicine. B is the balance between anabolic processes, meaning processes that build, and catabolic processes, which is processes that destroy. According to C, the cycle of life of an organism. So that's my very simple definition of health.
So I think that the future of medicine is going to be more subtle, more energy related, more things that we can't see, but we're well primed to do that because now we have so many different technologies that are enabling us to see what is invisible. So I'm excited for that. In fact, that's where, I'm so done with kind of the nutrient wars that I see in nutrition. It's like, can we just move on to like the finer, subtler aspects that are preclinical before we've even emerged with aging conditions or disease, so that we can actually, just make good choices.
We use qualitative statistics, whereas illness medicine uses quantitative statistics. And illness medicine is after lifespan, and health optimization medicine is after health span. So that is a very simple framework by which to do health. At least there is a handle on what health is all about. There is a scientific way of measuring health. I want to be able to tell what tests need to be made and what to give the patient. So it's an entirely clinical practice. It's not some theoretical thing that you can do for your health, but some practical thing that is actually a clinical practice for your health. And what is wonderful about this is that you do not need a doctor to actually practice health optimization. Health optimization practice or hope is actually made for health practitioners to be able to also detect and correct imbalances. There are more health optimization practitioners than there are doctors, and therefore we might be able to shift the direction of medicine with the health optimization practitioners than having a larger number of doctors.
So if you enjoyed that clip, make sure to register for the Human Longevity Project at goevomed.com/HLP and pass it on to all of your patients too. Not to give too much of a spoiler alert, but their conclusion in their project is the same as the conclusion in our project, that health optimization practitioners of all varieties, the kind of people that are in our communities all around the world, are the solution to chronic disease. So now we've looked at the past, now we're going to go into the present. And so we want to take a real look at what is going on in healthcare and health insurance in America today. And I've said that I think that this is the most opportune time in history, in any country ever in history, to be able to start the kind of evolution of healthcare that we all know is possible. And this video from PragerU will give you the download on why this is such an important time. Check it out.
Americans carry many different forms of insurance. There's car insurance, home insurance, life insurance, even pet insurance. Most of these insurance policies work well and are fairly priced. But there is one glaring exception: health insurance. Only health insurance becomes more complicated and more expensive at the same time. So the obvious question is, why? To answer this question, we have to start at the beginning. What is insurance? It's pretty straightforward. You pay a monthly fee which provides financial protection against unforeseen, sometimes catastrophic events. People buy homeowners insurance, for example, to protect themselves from the financial loss incurred in the event of a fire, a flood, or theft. Because millions of people are paying into the insurance pool, the pool has enough money to cover the unlucky person whose house does burn down. And since insurance is meant to share risk, it only stands to reason that higher risk individuals have to pay more to be insured. Someone who has had 2 accidents is going to pay more for car insurance than someone who has never had an accident. Why? Because their track record indicates they are more likely to have another accident. But while insurance provides a bulwark against unforeseen loss, it does not protect against routine expenses. Car insurance protects you in the event that you wind up in a car wreck, or your vehicle is stolen. But it doesn't cover routine maintenance like oil changes, replacing brake pads, or tire erosion. Why? Because everyone needs routine oil changes, new brake pads, and new tires. So there is no risk to protect against. Health insurance in America works very differently. Many of us have health insurance plans that aren't insurance at all. They're really prepaid healthcare plans. They cover routine checkups, less serious illnesses, and recurring expenses like prescription medications, in addition to protecting you from a health disaster. All of this has made healthcare much more expensive and complex than any other form of insurance. That is true whether you get your insurance through your employer, through the government, or if you pay for your own plan. The Affordable Care Act, known as Obamacare, was passed on the promise that it would fix these issues and bring down healthcare costs. But it has actually made the problem much worse. First, it limited the variety of health insurance plans private companies could offer. It did this by mandating that every plan had to cover the same set of 10 health benefits, including preventive care, maternity care, mental health care, and contraception. Second, Obamacare prevented insurers from charging premiums based on the risk they were assuming. A person with a much higher risk of getting sick couldn't be charged more than a person with a much lower chance. These two aspects of Obamacare, requiring all policies to have certain coverages and not allowing insurance companies to charge more for riskier clients, caused the price of insurance to rise dramatically. In Arizona, for example, the price more than doubled between 2016 and 2017 alone. So, how do we undo this mess? By making health insurance more like, well, insurance. First, stop making people buy plans that include things they won't use and don't want. Second, allow health insurers to offer more options at different prices. Do these two things, and you'd make health insurance a lot more affordable for a lot more people. And what about people with pre-existing conditions for whom every insurance plan is just too expensive? We do what any compassionate society does. We make sure they get the medical care they need. But we don't need to upset the whole concept of insurance and make healthcare more expensive for everyone else to do it. Most Americans want to do the responsible thing and insure themselves against catastrophic healthcare emergencies. But with health insurance costs rising every year, being responsible is becoming more difficult. I'm Lan Hee Chen, Research Fellow at the Hoover Institution for Prager University.
So the reason why I had to show that video is because it communicates the difference between what health insurance could be and a prepaid health plan, which is what insurance is today. Now, the conclusions of that video said there are two things that we can do to change healthcare today. One is to be able to stop forcing people to buy plans that they don't use. And the end of the individual mandate facilitated that. The second thing is to create new types of plans that have different prices that are good for different types of populations. And that's exactly what we're talking about creating in the cooperative. Now, this is a conversation that we've been having for a long time at the Functional Forum. Back in 2015, we did a forum called Emerging Models of Preventive Medicine. And in this short clip, you'll hear from Tom Blue, who shared about how we've been bamboozled about thinking about what could be delivered in a healthcare plan, and we need to take those shackles off. So check out this clip from Tom Blue from 2015.
Most people I have found don't take the time to think carefully about the structures that they're creating. Now, this all flows from a really interesting and I think incredibly relevant phenomenon that we witness every single day, probably almost every hour of every waking day that we have in our lives, which is that in nature, as in medicine, as in our lives, the structures around us dictate our behaviors. You got to take your shoes off to get on an airplane, so people don't wear laces on their shoes anymore when they travel, by and large. That's a structure. Our healthcare system is filled with structures that dictate our behaviors. And so this is an opportunity, at least within the tiny world of your own practice, to redefine the structures that largely influence not only your patient's behaviors, but your own behavior as a patient. The fee-for-service compensation model motivates more service delivery. And so that structure creates a certain behavior. So in thinking through this, and it's a little bit abstract, but very, very important, I want to only talk about two constructs in our story here, and they're, I think, arguably the most important two. The first one looks like this, and you are as subject to it as a physician and provider as are your patients. Patient goes into the doctor's office, the doctor says, I can operate on you or you can go on a strict diet. The patient says, well, you better operate. And the doctor says, "Are you sure?" The patient says, "Well, my insurance doesn't cover a strict diet." We are hypnotized into thinking that the only medical services that we can receive as patients are those that are valued by insurance payers. Providers are hypnotized into thinking that the only medical services they can deliver as physician providers are those that are valued by the payer system. In fact, neither are true. And the first challenge that anyone redesigning their practice model has to confront is this particular hypnosis. Most of us in this room have got 3 types of insurance. We have auto insurance, we have homeowners insurance, we have health insurance. In 2 of the 3 cases, we have a good understanding of what insurance is, and we have a healthy relationship with that financial instrument. It is a financial arrangement designed to protect us from ruin in the unlikely event of something, like a house fire. That's why we buy homeowners insurance. That's why we buy auto insurance. As I often tell people, what would your car or your house look like if the only things you did to them were the things paid for by insurance? For some reason, in our lives as healthcare consumers, we have been bamboozled into thinking that our insurance should be the censor and govern everything that we can or cannot receive in the way of preventive maintenance of our bodies. And it's ridiculous. And if you want to look at the product of years and years of that thinking, all you have to do is look at the declining health of the American population in the face of a 5,000% increase in healthcare spending. So this is a structure that we have to correct. And of course, the message is that you have to cleanse your own mind of thinking this way, and you have to help patients see the light on this as well. And it's not terribly hard to do, but you have to call people's attention to it.
So now that our mind has been revitalized about what should be in a healthcare plan, now can we talk about, if our community were to decide what to do, what could be in a healthcare plan? And let's look at the future. Now, if you've been part of our community for a long time, you probably think that lifestyle-driven, integrative and functional medicine should be at the core of any healthcare plan. Why? Because the goal is to get people off drugs and back to health. And whatever your political affiliation, you have to think that we need an opportunity to showcase this on a larger scale. And that's part of the reason for the health cooperative. We have a window of time to be able to do something that showcases our ability to control costs, and that's the point of the cooperative. So what should the care look like? We connected with one of our favorites here at the Functional Forum, Dr. Rangan Chatterjee. He's one of the most influential doctors in the UK through his TV show and now through his book that was #1 in the UK earlier this year and is now coming out in America under a different title called How to Make Diseases Disappear. And if that concept appeals to you, let's check out this interview where he shares some of what his thoughts are about starting care delivery from scratch. I am here in Venice, California with none other than UK Functional Forum host, Dr. Rangan Chatterjee. What's up, Rangan? Good to have you here on the forum.
James, it's good to be here in California.
It's a big moment because you have actually broken the record as the most frequent Functional Forum guest, overtaking Kelly Brogan. How do you feel about that?
I don't know what Kelly's going to say. I feel honoured to be asked again. Let's put it like that, James. Thank you.
So, look, this episode is called The Evolution of Health Insurance, and we're doing something pretty bold, which is we think that we can set a new model for how people take care of each other and how they take care of the risk of their own health issues. And, you know, if you were a health insurance CEO and you could wish anything, you'd probably want to have an ability to just make diseases disappear. And most people on the planet don't think that that's possible, but it's literally the name of your book. And so I just want to get into it because, like, I feel like we in the functional medicine community have a massive advantage by having functional medicine as the operating system for healthcare. And I just, I want to jump in with you. What is it that gives you the confidence to write a book with this title?
James, look, there's no question that's quite a provocative title, okay? But I think we're in a time now where we need to really question our understanding of what disease is. Disease is not a thing. Not every disease is a thing that just happens, and once we've got it, we've got this label around our neck for the rest of our lives, and we just have to take medication for that. I'm talking, James, about chronic disease, right? I would never have said that 6-7 years ago. But over the last few years, my frustration with the way that I was practicing medicine, and by learning new tools through the Institute of Functional Medicine, through learning more about lifestyle, and then applying them with not only my own family, but with my patients, and actually literally seeing things disappear that people had before, it forces you to confront actually, many diseases can be made to disappear. It's a shift in the way that we think, no question. We think, once you've got, let's say, type 2 diabetes, once you've got it, that's it, right? As we've spoken about before, James, I helped a lady reverse that in 2015, over 3 years ago, 2015, right? And that was controversial back then. Whereas now in the UK, NICE are now saying that you can put type 2 diabetes into remission, right? There's this recognition that with some diseases you can help them disappear. But the simple reality is those people who are in this model of healthcare who are looking for root causes are finding that quite often you can make these conditions, these symptoms, go away. And it's incredible. And James, why do I feel I can say that? I feel I can say that for, not only am I seeing that in my clinic some of the time, I've gone and shown that on my documentary series, Doctor in the House, which 5 million people saw each episode in the UK. It's gone to 70 countries around the world. Viewers have seen type 2 diabetes disappear. They have seen fibromyalgia pains, right, disappear when people come off medication. They've seen all kinds of, they've seen other conditions that didn't disappear.
Yeah.
They've seen severe suicide headaches go from 90 a week down to like 2 or 3 a week, right? Okay, that's not, it disappeared, but it's significantly better. And that's the point, you can talk about depression, right? Mental health problems in the UK, right? I'm here in the US, right? But in the UK, the Charity Minds say that 1 in 4 of us in the UK in any given year are going to have a mental health problem. Now that is not just better diagnosis, right? That is basically the fact that there's something going on with society, the environment in which we're living in, that is contributing to mental health problems. And people operating with this system often see these problems go away. They could certainly be improved dramatically.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that we're really interested in is how we can scale that up with the practitioners that we have in our functional medicine community and health coaches and all the other practitioners that make it up. One of the things that I've seen, the other person that's, quoted here is Dallas Hartwig, a mutual friend of ours. And I know that a lot of practitioners will use the Whole 30 book as basically like the content on what you should do with your diet. Like a lot of people do that. I'm just wondering how you feel like this book, because when I came out in February, if you were watching the Functional Forum back in February when we came across to the UK, like your book, The 4-Pillar Plan, actually formed part of your prescribing lifestyle medicine course because it's just like almost like the Bible to give to patients. Say, just do this and you'll get better. Yeah. I've been really interested in separating out in functional medicine lifestyle delivery and root cause resolution diagnostics. And, I just love to speak on how effective you feel something like this could be in facilitating the scaling up of this type of care to a whole insurance pool.
James, I wrote the book to help the public, right? Help real patients, help Joe Public, right? I didn't write it necessarily for doctors, right? I was hoping doctors would like it, but I wrote it, I thought I want to help as many people as possible. But what's interesting, James, is that the book has been out in the UK with a different title for a few months. It's doing incredibly well, but what's happening is that doctors are either prescribing the book to their patients. So I've got so many doctors emailing me. There's a psychiatrist in London who I think has already bought 20 copies for his patients and says, hey, can you publisher do me a discount because I want to keep prescribing this book to my patients, right? All kinds of doctors are using those principles and this very simple 4-pillar framework that I outline in the book. They're using it with their patients. When I taught that prescribing lifestyle medicine course, you're right. Some of that content in a lot deeper level for healthcare professionals is there because it's such a simple framework that actually we can apply it in the clinic setting. When we make these things too complicated, I think the reason people are using, dietary programs like the Whole 30 is because it's a simple, structured program that they can actually use with their patients and it's going to have real life impact. I think the program that I put out it goes beyond food. It's like food as a component, but also what I call those 4 key pillars: food, movement, sleep, and relaxation.
Yeah.
Right. It puts it into a structured format that you can, that the doctor can easily understand, and the patient can easily understand. And I think, I know in the UK this is being used by hundreds of doctors now. So I'm very optimistic that here in the US people can use this as a Bible book to give to their patients, or that health coaches in the UK are using this with their patients. Nutritional therapists are using this, or what they're doing, James, is that they're having a consultation and then they're saying, get this book, it will help you implement what we've just gone through. And that's incredibly flattering for me. So I really do believe strongly in the power of what's in there.
Yeah, we've been teaching practitioners for the last 3 years how to deliver content, right? Face to face, me telling you stuff, you don't remember it, 5 to 10 minutes, like having something that people can refer to back to is really important. I want to just talk a little bit about community, because obviously, the whole point of having a health cost sharing cooperative is now to incentivize people to provide community to each other. And I just wanted to get into that a little bit with you just here for a moment to talk about, in the actual implementation of content, whatever that content is, what is the role of the peer-to-peer support, whether it be at a family level like you did in Doctor in the House, or at a larger level, and how important is it in actually actualizing the changes?
It's everything, James. It's everything. Look, all of us, I'm sure you have, I have, we've tried to make improvements in our own health, whether it's going to the gym more or, changing our diets. It's incredibly challenging if everyone around you is doing something different than from what you're trying to do. As you say in Doctor in the House, I would literally, the reason why these guys were able to make changes, the whole family had to make the change. Because if you're trying to eat, a rainbow salad and your husband is eating, a Krispy Kreme donut next to you, you may willpower it for 2, 3, 4, 5 days, but you're going to crack at some point. Come on, I'll have a bit.
Yeah.
Right? So even on that small kind of, on that family level, we know it's important. But on a wider level, this is why I think social media and these kind of groups, or group, like Shilpa Saxena doing her group clinics and things, have been so successful because, we are social animals. We need to do what other people around us are doing. We like to be around that supportive community. I think it's the big missing piece when we talk about health. It's too much has been put on the individual. I'm going to give you information, right? And then it's your responsibility. If you care about yourself, you would make the changes. You know what, James? It ain't that simple, right? Yeah, information is important, but you need supportive structures around you. You need, health coaches play a critical role in now. How do we deliver this? How do we make this go from information that either a doctor is going to give their patient or they're going to read about in a book, right? But how do you then take that 2 or 3 steps forward to actually creating sustainable behavior change? I think health coaches play a key role, and I think communities, supportive communities, play a huge role.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was speaking with one of your colleagues, Dr. Chandal, recently, and he was showing that, lifestyle intervention led to a reduction in people going to the doctor, reduction in drug spend, but yet those reductions are not really accruing to the people who are doing it. And that's really the purpose of the cooperative there. So look, I really appreciate you sharing this. And I know health insurance isn't really in your zone because we don't really have it in England. And also, you're a doctor here, but this is why we believe that we can build something truly transformational, because building an insurance alternative with functional medicine as the operating system, with lifestyle delivery as the operating system, scaled up lifestyle delivery, has to be the foundation of the future of medicine. It's about getting the right care and the right incentives together to be able to do it. So, later this year, I'm heading out on a countrywide tour of to popularize the concept of the health cooperative built on lifestyle, built on functional medicine around this community. Now, I didn't really think about it at the time, but there's a reason why the idea of a tour around America and a tour bus appeals to you. For the people who don't know, can you just fill everyone in?
So, like, my big passion outside my work is music, and I played in bands for years. I've played multiple instruments. I love it. And, I've taken time out of medicine before to tour my music. It's something that's always, been, I've been deeply passionate about. So, you know, when you said that you got this idea of doing medicine on the road and kind of on a tour bus, I thought, wow, this is kind of like, you know, actually, James, what it really shows me actually is that medicine and wellness actually, you know, that is the new rock and roll. That's what people are looking for out there now. That actually genuinely is where people are at, because we've got a sick society everywhere. It doesn't matter where you go. Right, I'm here in California with you now, right? Yeah. But it doesn't matter whether I'm in the UK or here or somewhere else. It's the same everywhere. Yeah. People are getting sicker. They're not living the lives that they want to live, and in many occasions, not all, in many occasions, a simple structured application of lifestyle changes. And for me, James, you know, I'm passionate about this 4-pillar approach. Let's not look for perfection in one area. Let's just do a few things that are achievable in each area. You not only get people healthier, right? If someone is simply tired of having sugar and caffeine all day to get them through, right, this approach helps them. If they want to prevent getting a disease in the future, it's the same lifestyle interventions that generally reduce their risk of getting sick in the future. But if they've already got a disease, right, it's the same lifestyle interventions that actually are going to help improve their situation. And if we're lucky, and in some cases, we can actually reverse that disease. Yeah. You know, and it's that simple.
The more I think about it, the more I think every single person in the pool is going to get this book, because ultimately the return on investment of like a $10 book, you know, in terms of amount of time for the doctor to use, prescription costs in the medium to long term, if people really take action on the book. And, you know, also one thing I just, you know, wanted to share is that we're going to be, you know, helping our community to get hold of the prescribing lifestyle medicine course that you guys created. And one of the things I really appreciated about it is the language, right? If we want patient-centered medicine, we've got to use a language they understand. And I felt like one of the things that needs to happen in the evolution of functional medicine is to really start speaking a language that patients understand. You know, how did you sort of like come to that realization for the prescribing lifestyle medicine course?
I think I've always intuitively got that communication is the most important thing. You know, you've heard me say before, you know, I am not a huge fan when I hear doctors saying, you know, patients don't do what we tell them to do, right? Of course, some don't, but I think we're missing the point. I think, you know, I have found that when you communicate, right, with the person in front of you in a manner, in a language that they understand and that resonates with them, right, they do want to make those changes, right? They do want to make those changes. Everybody wants to feel better than they currently do. So the way we communicate, I think I've always intuitively known that that's important. So I think the natural extension was when we were teaching prescribing lifestyle medicine in London was, look, you know, I need to teach these doctors not only the concepts, but teach it in a way that they can easily on Monday morning teach those concepts to their patients, right? It's no good having, you know, medical jargon in one level and then leave it up to the individual practitioners to see how can I convert that down. Now I want to simplify it. We often protect ourselves in medicine using the jargon, right? Actually, why do we need to complicate it? Some of these concepts are actually pretty simple. Yeah. And you know, James, you know, the recommendations I make on that course, the recommendations I make in this book, right? Actually, they seem quite simple, right? That I walk people through the science, but then actually you come through, the recommendation is actually quite simple. But that's the point. It's got to feel achievable. It's got to, really? Is that, yeah, I can do that. Right, that's what I'm about. Is trying to, both myself, but also when I teach other doctors and healthcare professionals, is I want to teach them how they can inspire their patients with simple language, so that when that patient is walking out the door, whether it's a doctor or a health coach or whatever, they're walking out the door, they're feeling inspired that, hey, I can do this, right? It's no good. There's just no point otherwise. So it really is key.
Yeah, empowerment is all about seeing the other person as capable. Right, that they're capable, that they can do it, and that's I think such a huge piece. Well, look, I just want to say thank you for doing what you do. It's super inspiring to see the scale of what's occurring. The first season, the second season, the book now, and now what you're doing with the doctors. You know, I hope that we can, you know, share. You know, there's an opportunity to do something in America that you see with health insurance that's really not possible in the UK because of the system. So we're going for it here and this summer. So I hope you can join us on the tour. I hope you can join us out there. This has been the Evolution evolution of health insurance as part of the Functional Forum. This book came out last week on May the 1st, so make sure you get it. Get 5 copies for your patients. Use it. Most practitioners I know have a library in their practice. This is a great one for the library because it does go beyond diet. So much good stuff in here. Rangan, thanks so much for being part of the Functional Forum.
Thanks, James.
So the way that we've been preparing our community for this innovative future of medicine that Dr. Chatterjee has described is trying to make it easier for many more doctors and practitioners to learn this operating system. And that's been the whole point of the Functional Forum and the evolution of medicine up until now. How do we make it easier for all doctors, no matter their certification, whether they're primary care, family medicine, internal medicine, generalist, specialist, to see the value of a root cause approach to healthcare and lifestyle-driven medicine. And so that's what our community's for. And we have hundreds of the most innovative practitioners in the world in our Practice Accelerator working out how to build their practices of the future. And so if you're a practitioner and you're watching this and you want to participate in this, you want to be a practitioner that's part of this movement but have yet to really establish a strong foundation for the practice, both technologically, organizationally, check out goevomed.com/brochure and join the community of practitioners that are building the kind of practices that can integrate with the plan that we're talking about here today. So the purpose of the Functional Forum and the evolution of medicine, our intention with the business was to create this network of independent practices. And you can see that through all the content and the community and everything that we've done, that's been the goal. But there's always been a greater purpose to creating this network. And it's been hiding in plain sight. It's been on the introduction to our Functional Forum. This ecosystem that has been set up by the meetup groups, we believe will be the future ecosystem of this evolved primary care network that we are looking to develop. And it all revolves around you. So about this time last year, I ended up going to my first blockchain conference. And for those of you who aren't familiar, blockchain is the technology that supports things like Bitcoin and Ethereum, some of the new cryptocurrencies. But the actual technology itself is useful in all kinds of phases. And when I started to think to myself, what is the best way that I could see using this technology to affect our long-term plan? It was with regard to something similar to the Christian health cost-sharing Ministries, where we could create trust amongst a whole group of people by having a transparent system built on the blockchain. And that's when I was introduced to Martin Stellenberger, a blockchain architect who had worked in insurance for a number of years and was working on a solution that could fix some of the perverse incentives that exist in insurance. He was born in Austria. He now lives in New Zealand. And over the last year, we've had the opportunity to talk about his technology, what it's capable of, and how it could fit with the functional medicine community and this vision for taking our care to the masses. Here's my interview with him. I think he's one of the most interesting people in the world. I hope you agree. So what are the major issues that you see that are problems within insurance that you could solve?
The number one is simply, to me at least, the conflicts of interests that exist in the insurance ecosystem, especially when it comes to claims management. So if we think about it, every time you were to submit a claim to an insurance company, you are asking them essentially, hey, can you please honor my claim at the expense of you making a profit? So every time you submit a claim of $100, you ask them, can you please forfeit your profit of $100? Who says yes to that? But that's unfortunately the situation we live in. Typically, insurance companies honor claims, but they have also an incentive to deny or delay claims. So this created a couple of perverse incentives in this ecosystem, and it creates a lot of friction. Unfortunately, also because of maybe that as a contributor to that, insurance ranks as one of the least trusted industries. Right? Something that should provide a service to society is not trusted by society. It's certainly, to me, number one. The second one is it's inefficient. So it's depending on what studies and what sub-industry you look at in the insurance industry, it's only 67 cents on the dollar are used to pay out claims. We can do better, that's for sure. And the third one I would say is fraud. It's an open secret, a well-known secret that consumers commit insurance fraud. A lot of stakeholders in the insurance ecosystem engage in fraudulent behavior because they say, I pay so much in premium, I can easily justify by inflating my claim by 10%.
Yeah.
And that insurance fraud amount is substantial. Let's put it this way. So it's well in the hundreds of billions of dollars. So these are probably the top three I would mention up front. And this is where, I got started. We must find a way to do this differently.
When you set out to create something that was better and solve those problems, what were some of the first things that you thought had to be part of the new solution?
Again, coming back to the conflicts of interest. How can we create an ecosystem, an insurance ecosystem, where the roles of each stakeholder is clearly defined, but everybody is incentivized to do the right thing for each other? So how can we turn this around when I submit a claim to my provider that they are actually incentivized to honor my claim, that they benefit? Yeah. It sounds almost a little bit a contradiction in itself, but the point is it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
One beautiful example, and to me there are still the heroes in that space, is Lemonade. They turned that around with a very clever approach. So this is where it started. And I went on to how can we create a little bit more transparency in this ecosystem. So not just trust me because I say so, trust me because I can prove it to you. And I cannot cheat the system myself. So these are the two factors where I started with building out this new ecosystem, addressing them head on.
Yeah, you mentioned a key word there, which is trust. Yeah. And ultimately, what we see, like in functional medicine, is that we've been trying to facilitate doctors to be trustworthy, right?
Yeah,
to not
absolutely.
do things that are distrustworthy, and so to try and create trust there. So what is it about the blockchain specifically? Because you hear that word used a lot in blockchain. What is it in the blockchain world that facilitates trust in this ecosystem?
There's a lot of hype and media around that, and some of it is justified, some is not too justified, but I still have to come back to this component of transparency. So we can create trust, the easiest and the quickest, if we disclose to the audience of what we're doing behind closed doors. Meaning, nobody can cheat the system. So, and blockchain is absolutely beautiful to do just that, to create and provide this fabric of trust. How? By disclosing pieces of information that is critical to be known by every stakeholder. Okay. I don't disclose my health records or my name or my address. No, that's not important. But I disclose whether somebody used this service or not. How much has it been used? How much money went into this ecosystem? And how much has been used to pay out service providers? Yeah. So we need to communicate only those crucial pieces that need to be communicated. And through doing that, every party in this puzzle can trust each other because they know nobody can cheat it. So that is one of the core components of blockchain, to provide that layer of transparency so that everybody can engage with each other.
Absolutely. So can you just describe, what it's been described as sort of like a peer-to-peer system, right? There's no insurance company, nothing's really covered because ultimately the risk is borne by the pool.
Absolutely.
So can you just go a bit different to that? Because that's a new idea for many people. Like in America, we have this Christian health cost sharing ministry, which is when I really found out about the blockchain, my mind was like, oh, this is just like that. What you're describing is like that, just better tech.
Yeah.
Can you dive into that a little bit?
Right. To simplify it now, think of it, we have one big bank account.
Okay.
One bank account with funds in this locked up.
Yeah.
So as long as we have money, US dollars, locked up in this bank account, we can use those funds to pay all the stakeholders.
Yeah.
The health practitioners, the justice, the pool operators, the ownership components.
Yeah.
So this is the bank account with balance. And again, as long as we have liquidity, this ecosystem works. So what we have to now make sure is that this bank account has always sufficient solvency. And how do we make sure that? By, depending on what expenses we have had over the last X days, we're always drawing sufficient funds from the consumers into this bank account.
Yeah.
And this can be done in an interval. It can be done on a daily basis, monthly or yearly basis. We're reassessing. So that means if the entire community, all the consumers in this pool, choose to live a healthier lifestyle, the premiums go down because we have less claims. So we are now incentivizing, in this case, consumers, to choose to live healthily, because then we can see the premiums go down right away. And of course, the other way around. If we have more claims coming into this pool, more premiums are charged. So now we have this beautiful link between incentivization and reward.
So the few things that you said there that really resonated with me. One is that, when I look out and see what is the most powerful factor at reducing health claims, it's always community. And people in regular insurance are not incentivized to do community type behaviors because they have no idea what's going on with the pool. It's not even in their mind. So can you talk into a little bit about that, what you feel like the value will be of connecting the most powerful force in reducing claims to everyone, to the transparency, being able to see what's in the pool?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something I love probably the most about this is this concept that if your neighbor is better off, you are better off.
Yeah.
And if we think about this model of how it runs, that's very true in this ecosystem as well. Why? If you partner up with your neighbor to choose, hey, you know what? I'm going to challenge you. We both lose 10 pounds over the next 2 months, because not just for the sake of losing pounds, because we want to live and see our grandchildren grow up.
Yeah.
Then, by this simple act, the likelihood of a chronic disease claim coming in or whatever goes down, as we discussed this previously.
Yeah.
And so the premiums, if we look at the big community, go down in the long term. So you helping out your neighbor, your mate, your friend, makes everybody in this community better off. Not just philosophically speaking, also financially speaking. There's less money now required, less funds required to potentially look after chronic diseases down the track. And so that is one of the adjustment aspects in this pool that works hopefully in the future very well.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And then the other thing I really love is just the dynamic ability to be able to see what's going on under the hood.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. To be able to see what money is in each of the pools, and in the first version, we'll see how the versions roll out, but ultimately I think you have a vision of completely dynamic pricing or completely dynamic movement of money.
That's my goal. I mean, it's not just that I can see on an individual level that my premiums go down or up.
Yeah.
It's on a pool level as well. And what we discussed as well was this aspect that if you choose by yourself, I want to live a healthier lifestyle, your healthier lifestyle is reflected, like we use points, on the blockchain. And if you, after 3 months, you say, okay, you are 10% healthier, after 3 months your premiums go down, relatively speaking, by 10%.
Yeah.
So we have now this strong incentive, not just from a community level, also on an individual level, to choose a better lifestyle, because you will end up paying less in premium. So it's not just the community, it's also on an individual level. We're incentivizing people to do the right thing.
So I hope after that you can see what I see, is that there is an opportunity with this technology and our practitioner community in America today, with the politics and economics as they exist, to right now step up and build the new system that makes the existing system obsolete. That's been the vision all the way along. And what we're trying to do here is to take people who have already committed to personal responsibility and showcase the power of community responsibility to solve the big problems in healthcare and the big problems in health insurance. Now, the truth is, I can't do this by myself. We need 10,000 people into the initial pool to be able to make it resilient enough to withstand the problems and threats that it may come across in the future. But ultimately, I believe that by our community of practitioners connecting with people who have already made the decision to be personally responsible for their health, we can actually come together and build this. Now, all the way through in our history, we have waited to be picked by by the licensing boards, waited to be picked by the insurance companies? Will we be looked favorably politically? I was born in America, but I was raised in the UK. And a project like this could never happen in the UK or anywhere else with socialized medicine. Even though Dr. Chatterjee is reversing chronic disease in a way that no one has ever seen on British TV, you think the NHS system is adapting and evolving to include functional medicine in any way? No, because there's the powers that be control how things happen, and change happens slowly. Here is a moment in America right now where we don't have to ask permission for anyone to do this. We can literally pick ourselves. All we need is 10,000 people, and 10,000 people is a very small town or a very large medical practice. We're not talking about a lot of people, but we need the right people. We need people who are already committed to personal responsibility. We need health coaches, we need yogis, we need CrossFitters, we need gym rats. Any type of person that is overpaying for health insurance in the current system is welcome in the new health cooperative. We're trying to get 10,000 members by open enrollment on November 1st. I'm literally getting in a bus with my family and going around the country to make it happen. If you think, like I see today, there is an opportunity for us to actually do this, come out and support the tour, get the word out about the tour. Next month at the Functional Forum, we're going to be talking about autoimmune disease. We'll be coming live from the Evolution of Medicine Awards at the IFM annual conference. I hope you can join us in June. But from now, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.